Hi, I'm Jenny from Noli Bean, where modern quilting meets color, creativity, and joy. And this week's video is part 2 of our Color Theory for Quilters series. And in this second part video, we're going to talk all about fabric selection. There is also a companion blog post that I will link below if you want to dig a little bit deeper into all of these. And then I will also link the video for part 1 down below. So the first color scheme that we're going to talk about is monochromatic quilts, which is essentially one color, but you're going to use many different shades and tints. So think about like a light blue to a deep navy. And these quilts are perfect for creating, or these color palettes actually are perfect for creating a cohesive and calm and kind of sophisticated look to the quilt. And one of my favorite monochromatic quilts that I've made is the cover quilt for my Desert Cove pattern. And it's made entirely of oranges and peaches. And I used different saturation levels. I threw a couple of prints in there. And then if you're looking at it, you might see the dark orange. There's a bright dark orange fabric in there. And so kind of having one that is a little different from all of the others helps bring some energy to the quilt, and it helps the eye move around the quilt. And here are some examples of monochromatic quilts. Next is the Analogous color palettes, and so these color schemes use colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. Think red, orange, yellow, yellow, blue, green, and these color palettes feel really harmonious, and they're really great for creating soothing transitions. Think ombre effect quilts, and quilts made with this color scheme often just have a really calm feel to them. And my recent Desert Cove quilt, the one I made for Clara, uses pinks, peaches, and purples. And these colors are all adjacent to one another on the color wheel, and it really turned out to be just a very happy, cozy quilt. And here are some examples of this color scheme. Next, we have complementary and split complementary. And so complementary colors sit opposite of one another on the color wheel. So think pink and green, yellow and purple, and they really bring some contrast and energy to your quilt. Split complementary uses one color and then the two adjacent to its opposite, creating a little bit of a softer feel. And so my cover quilt for the Clarendon quilt pattern uses my favorite combination, which is pink and green. And so you can play with the saturation and the value. And I kept, for this particular Clarendon, I kept it really lively without feeling too loud. And again, here are some other examples of complementary quilts. And I really want to draw your attention to the fourth column. On the top is a Granada quilt, below is the Clarendon. And both of these quilts use a pink and green combination, but they do it very differently and have very different feel. So the top, the Granada, has more of a softer feel. It's got some neutral thrown in there, and it's got some soft tones, and it just feels very calm. Compare that to the one below it, where there's some very saturated colors, and it has a ton of energy. So even with two different colors, you can play around and really make some changes to the feel of the final quilt. So now we have triadic and tetradic schemes, and so these have a very bold statement. So these use 3 evenly spaced colors, and then the tetradic uses 4. So it's either 3 evenly spaced colors or 4 evenly spaced colors. And that creates a very vibrant and high energy quilt, which is often what we're looking for as modern quilters. And so my Tatum quilt pattern usually follows this color scheme. And it has some unexpected pairings. So there's in the blocks and the flying geese, it's primarily, you know, reds and oranges, reds and violets, and then that sashing is a yellow green. It's Kona and pickle, and it really adds some, like a huge pop for the eye in that. And so one tip when you're working with these particular color schemes is to kind of stick with one dominant color and then use the others sparingly, right? So in this one, it's kind of the opposite. The color that has the contrast and the pop I used in the sashing, and then the blocks. So if you looked at the blocks alone, this would have a very soft feel to it, but then when you add that sashing in it, it really pops. And so here are some examples again of this color scheme in practice. And so how do you choose the right color scheme for your quilt? So I think you should start, my advice would be to start by asking yourself some questions. Who is this quilt for? Is it for yourself and your family? Is it for a specific occasion, or is it a gift? And so think about what colors the recipient would like, whether that's yourself, a friend, you know, again, for the occasion. And then what is the quilt meant for? Is it going to go on display? Are you going to use it every day? Is it going to be entered in a quilt show? And then again, think about the mood. This is probably the most important question to ask yourself. What mood do you want that quilt to convey? Do you want it to be playful? Is it for a child, an adult? Do you want it to be calm, modern? And then once you kind of know all of that, then you can kind of select which scheme described in this video kind of matches that feel you're looking for. And then from there, think about colors and start pulling fabrics. And so you can play around with your fabrics, see what feels right to you, which combinations you like, you don't like, take pictures along the way. And then one other piece of advice is that this is likely not your last quilt, so don't be afraid to try something new. Pull out some fabrics, some prints, some colors that you rarely use, and just have fun experimenting. And you may end up finding out something that you really like and you kind of use in your practice moving forward. And worst case scenario, you find something that you don't like. But the good news there is you still learned something. You learned what you don't like, and you won't use fabric in that way in the future. And so again, I will link the companion blog post below if you want to dive deeper into any of this. And as always, thanks for watching.